So the aim of the practical is to determine the solubility product of silver halides. Now this silver halide could be either silver chloride, silver bromide or silver iodide. So now let us take an example wherein we will be determining the solubility of silver chloride. Okay, so for this we require 0.1 normal AgNO3 solution which we will take in the burette. Okay, so in the burette we have taken silver nitrate solution. Okay, and in a beaker you have to take the KCl solution. Okay, so we require two things. One is the AgNO3, another one is the KCl. Okay, and for this you required again two electrodes. One electrode would be the reference electrode or the standard electrode. So we have taken over here Kellerman electrode as the standard electrode, and we have taken indicator or the working electrode as a silver electrode. So the potential of the standard Kellerman electrode will remain constant, whereas the potential of the silver electrode would vary based upon the concentration of the KCl which we have taken in this beaker, right? So, and the potential difference across these two electrodes would be measured, and it would be represented as EMF, that is electromotive force, and that you need to note it down. So we have taken the salt bridge of potassium nitrate, and we have dipped the standard electrode in a solution of potassium nitrate. Okay, so in this beaker there is potassium nitrate, this salt bridge is of potassium nitrate, and this silver electrode is being dipped inside the KCl solution. So this is the setup. Here we have connected the working electrode, that is the silver electrode, to the positive terminal, wherein the reference as well as the standard electrode is being connected to the negative terminal, which is the saturated Kellerman electrode. So in this practical, as I told you, we have taken AgNO3 in the burette, and in the beaker we have taken KCl. So when you will add AgNO3 into the KCl solution, the silver ions will react with the chloride ions to form silver chloride white precipitates, and KNO3 would be obtained. And when all the chloride ions have reacted with silver ions and it have formed white precipitates, you will be getting the equivalence point. Okay, so let us start with the practical, and here also you have to go for two sets. The first set would be the pilot set, from which you can get to know the range in which the equivalence point would be obtained, whereas there would be the micro set from which you will be getting the exact equivalence point. So let us start first of all with the pilot set. Okay, so these are the ml of the titrant added. We are taking AgNO3 as a titrant. Okay, so you have to add 1 ml of AgNO3 into the KCl solution, and you have to find out the potential difference across two electrodes, which would be EMF, right? So before the addition of the AgNO3, the EMF which we have obtained is 0.091. Okay, so we will write 0.091. Okay, now you have to add 1 ml of AgNO3 into this solution. Stir the solution. You can see over here you are getting the white precipitates of silver chloride. Okay, because the silver ions will react with the chloride ions to give the white precipitates. So over here you can see the silver ions are combining with the chloride ions to give silver chloride white precipitates. So stop the stirring. Now note down the reading. Allow the reading to get stable. Okay, so the reading is 0.100. Okay, now you have to again add 1 ml of AgNO3 into the beaker. Okay, so now the reading is 0.105. So at 2 ml, the reading would be 0.105. Now again add 1 ml. So now the reading is 0.108. So you can see that after the addition of 3 ml of AgNO3, the reading is 0.108. So in this way, you need to keep on adding 1 ml of AgNO3 and you have to determine the EMF values. And simultaneously, you also have to find out the delta E, that is delta EMF values. And from the delta EMF, you can get to know that in which range the equivalence point would be obtained. Then you have to select that range and then you need to go for the microset through which you can get the exact equivalence point. So for the microset, the procedure would be same. Okay, you have to again take 50 ml of the KCl solution into the beaker. Again, start adding AgNO3 from the beginning and start taking the readings in order to obtain the exact equivalence point. So in this practical, first of all, you need to take 50 ml of the KCl if you are determining the solubility product of silver chloride. Okay, then you need to titrate that KCl solution against 0.1 normal AgNO3 solution. Okay, and then you need to perform 2 sets. First set would be the pilot set and second set would be the micro set. So let us see first of all the pilot set. Okay, so over here in the pilot set, you have to add 1 ml of the AgNO3 and you have to determine the EMF values. Okay, that is the potential difference across the 2 electrodes. Now you can start with 0 also. Okay, you can take the reading for 0 also. Here it is not taken in this example, right? So here 1 ml of the AgNO3 has been added and whatever the EMF has been obtained is being noted down. Then you have to add another 1 ml, note it down. So in the similar manner, you have to add 1 ml of the AgNO3 and you have to keep on noting down the EMF values, right? And simultaneously, you need to also determine the delta E values. Okay, that is the difference in the EMF values. So for the first one, it would be 0. There would be no difference. For the second one, it would be 0.135 minus 0.115. That would be 0.020. So in similar manner, you have to find out the delta E values. Okay. After that, you need to see where you get the maximum delta E value. Okay, over here you can see that out of all of these readings, this is the maximum value. So since you have got this reading to be the maximum, your equivalence point would have obtained between 4 to 5 ml. Okay, and when you draw a graph of EMF versus volume of the AgNO3 which is being added, the graph would be like this: E versus ml of the titrant which is being added. Okay, and you can see that initially the EMF would be lesser, right? It is 0.11. 5, and as we keep on adding AgNO3, the EMF would increase, right? So you can see over here the EMF is increasing. Okay, and then when you add more amount of AgNO3 after the equivalence point has been obtained, the EMF would increase very slowly. Okay, so you can see over here initially the EMF is increasing, okay, fastly. Then after the equivalence point is being obtained, which would be obtained between 4 to 5 ml, it will increase slowly, right? So this is the nature of the graph which would be obtained. It's a sigmoidal curve, okay. And now we know that the equivalence point would be between 4 to 5 ml. So with the help of a pilot set, you can get an idea that in which range the equivalence point would be obtained. Now you have to perform the microset. So what we will do, we will consider this range, that is between 4 to 5 ml, okay, and we'll try and determine the equivalence point which would be obtained between 4 to 5 ml. So for the microset, again you have to add 1 ml of AgNO3, but between 4 to 5 ml, okay, you have to find out the EMF values at the difference of 0.1 ml of the AgNO3. Okay, so initially you have to add 1 ml, and then from 4 to 5 you have to add 0.11 ml of AgNO3, and you need to determine the EMF values. And after 5 ml you need to add 1 ml and determine the EMF values. Okay, then you have to find out the delta V, delta E, then delta E upon delta V. Then you have to draw a graph of delta E upon delta V versus the volume of the titrant which is being added. Okay, so you will be getting a pic like this. Okay, and where you get the maximum reading, from there you need to draw a straight line in order to obtain the equivalence point. Okay, so you can see over here, if you see all of these values, then the maximum is obtained at 0.59. okay, you need to check in between 4 to 5 ml. okay, if you check in between 4 to 5 ml, then you can see that the maximum has been obtained at 0.59. okay, so the equivalence point is obtained at 4.9, and over here the VML which we'll get would be 4.9. So this you can determine from the graph, as well as from the table also you can get to know that what would be the equivalence point. Now using this equivalence point, you can obtain the solubility product of silver chloride. So now let us see how that is being done. Now you have to go to this graph. Okay, this and this are the same graph, right? So over here there would be set of data points. So you have to put a scale like this and draw a straight line through a set of data points. Then without lifting that scale, you have to drag the scale downwards. Again draw a line which is passing through a set of data points. Then join the ends of both of these lines. Okay, and then find out the center. Okay, and then join the center. So wherever this line meets this curve, equivalence point would be there. Okay, so we know that equivalence point is obtained at 4.9 ml. So here that would be 4.9 ml. Draw a straight line from here, and then again draw a straight line from here. So whatever the potential value which you get over here would be considered as E observed, that is EMF which is being observed, and this E observed or EMF which is being observed would be the EMF of the entire cell. Okay, and that would be equal to the potential of the silver electrode plus the potential of the calomel electrode. Okay, now suppose say the E observation which is being obtained from this graph is 0.272 volt. So put that value. Now the potential of the silver electrode at the equivalence point is expressed as EMF of the silver electrode plus RT upon NF ln under root KSP. Over here KSP is the solubility product of silver chloride. Okay, R is the gas constant, T is the temperature in Kelvin, and F is the Faraday constant. Plus E, calomel, that is the potential of the calomel electrode. Now, oxidation potential, which is the standard value for silver electrode, is constant, and that is 0.799 volt. Okay, so this value would be known to you. It is fixed and it is 0.799. Whereas the standard reduction potential for calomel electrode is minus 0.244 volt. Okay, so you have to put minus 0.244 as the standard reduction potential for the calomel electrode over here. Okay, so putting those two values, this equation you would be obtained, right? So these three values would go on that side. So now if you want to convert this ln into a log, you have to multiply it with 2.303. So over here we are multiplying this value with 2.303 and we are converting ln into log. Okay. Now if you want to remove this under root, okay, then you have to divide this value with 2. So over here you can see that we have removed this under root and we have divided it with 2. Over here n would be the ion charge, okay, so that would be 1. Now gas constant value would be 8.314 joule mole inverse Kelvin inverse. Okay, T would be temperature that you have to take in Kelvin, and if we consider 25 degrees Celsius as a standard temperature, then you have to sum up 25 with 273. Okay, and that would be 298 Kelvin. So T would be 298 Kelvin. Okay, again I'm repeating, R is gas constant that you have to take 8.314. Temperature, we would consider 25 degrees Celsius as a standard temperature, and if you want to convert from degree Celsius to Kelvin, then you have to sum up 25 with 273, that would give 298. So T would be 298. F is the Faraday constant, that would be 96500. So putting all of those values, you will be getting 0.059. Okay, so in order to obtain 0.059, we have multiplied 2.303 into 8.314 into 298 divided by 96500, and we have obtained 0.059. Okay, so and we have sum up this values and we have obtained minus 0.283. Okay, now we want to determine the KSP. So take log KSP. Okay, this 2 would get on this side and this will come downwards, so you will be getting minus 9.5932. okay, so if we take the log on that side, it would convert into NT log. So KSP would be equal to NT log minus 9.5932, and the answer would be 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 10. So this is the solubility product of silver chloride, that is 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 10. Okay, now over here you can see that these are the precipitates of silver iodide, silver bromide and silver chloride. Okay, so this would be the white precipitates of silver chloride. Then silver bromide precipitates would be slightly yellower and silver iodide would be more yellowish than this one. Okay, so if you are given the KCl solution initially, okay, and if you are titrating it against AgNO3, you will be getting the white precipitates. Then if you are titrating the KBr against AgNO3, you will be getting the slightly yellowish precipitates of AgBr. And if you are titrating Ki against AgNO3, then you will be getting slightly more yellowish precipitates of silver iodide. Okay. So in this way, you can find out the solubility product of silver chloride, silver bromide and silver iodide. The process would be same for all of this. Now, coming to the graph, this is the plot of EMF versus the ml of the titrant which is being added, and that is drawn using the pilot set. Okay, this is this graph. So this sort of graph would be obtained for silver chloride. Okay, this is the same graph which I have represented over here, right? And the actual solubility product for silver chloride at 25 degrees Celsius is 1.7 into 10 raised to minus 10. And over here we are getting 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 10. Now you can see over here that solubility product value depends upon the temperature, right? So with the change in temperature, this value will slight change. Okay, so when you are doing the practical, you will be getting slight variations due to the temperature effect. Then there would be number of other errors. Okay, there could be imperfections in the electrodes, that there can be human error, there can be glassware errors, right? So there would be slight variations in this values. Okay, now if we talk about silver bromide, then its KSP is 5 into 10 raised to minus 13 at 25 degrees Celsius. And the KSP for silver iodide is 8.3 into 10 raised to minus 17 at 25 degrees Celsius. And if you see the difference in the graph of EMF versus the ml of the titrant added, then you can see that all of this graph is sigmoidal shaped. Okay, that is this shape, it is referred to as a sigmoidal shape. Okay, so in all of the graphs you will be getting the sigmoidal shape. So for this graph here, equivalence point would be obtained. For this graph, equivalence point would be here, and for this graph, equivalence point would be here. And in the same manner, you can find out the E observed value, okay, by drawing the graph. Okay, the method which I have shown over here, the same method you could apply for all of this three, and you can obtain the E observation, and then you need to put it in this equation, and you have to find out the KSP. Equation would remain the same for all of this, and these two values, that is 0.799, that is the oxidation potential of silver electrode, and minus 0.244, that is the reduction potential of calomel electrode, would remain constant. The value for temperature, this one, gas constant, and Faraday constant, we will be taking as a constant. Okay, actually over here you should mention the temperature that is of the solution which you take in the beaker, but usually we consider 25 degrees Celsius as the standard temperature, and we consider 25 degrees Celsius over here. Okay, we have to take the value in Kelvin, so that's why you have to sum up 25 plus 273 in order to obtain the temperature in Kelvin. Okay, now you can see over here in this graph, this is x and y axis. Okay, so the initial reading would be the positive value. Okay, and it would be slightly more than 0. I mean, it would be very far from 0. Okay, in this table you have seen that the value is 0.115, so it is around 0.1, starting from 0.1, and then it would increase. Now if you go for AgBr, okay, when you are given a KBr solution to titrate against AgNO3, you can see that the initial reading would be very nearer to 0. Okay, it would be 0.0 something. Okay, over here the value was 0.1 or something. Over here the value would be very nearer to 0. And in some cases you could get initial 1 or 2 readings in a negative value also. This could be due to imperfections in the electrodes, right? So in some cases you could get 1 or 2 negative readings also. That is 1 or 2 initial readings of the EMF could be negative in the case of AgBr. Okay, and if you see this one, that is for AgI, the readings would be initially negative. Okay, you can see over here, this is the negative side of the y-axis. Okay, so you can see that readings will start with the negative value, then it would increase, then it would get 0, and then it would be into the positive side. Okay, so the initial readings of the EMF would be negative, then it would come to 0, and then the positive values would be obtained in case of silver iodide. Okay, so these are the difference in the readings. So from the readings also you can get to know that which solution is there. Okay, from the precipitates also you can get to know that what is being given to you, because sometimes in exams you won't be told that which silver halide is being given to you, right? So with the help of the precipitates you can get an idea, because the precipitates of AgCl would be white, For AgBr it would be slightly yellow, and for AgI it would be more yellowish. Right, so from the precipitates you can get to know that which silver halide is being formed. Okay, and from the graph also you can get to know. Okay, because in this case, in the case of silver chloride, the readings would be very far from zero. In the case of AgBr it would be very close to zero, and in the case of silver iodide the initial readings would be negative, then it would get zero, and then it would be on the positive side. And the third thing is you can even get to know from the final answer which you get, that is KSP, that is solubility products. Okay, so for silver chloride, the solubility product is in 10 raised to minus 10. For silver bromide, it is in 10 raised to minus 30. And for silver iodide, it would be in 10 raised to minus 70. In the exams, if you are not knowing that which solution is being given in a beaker, whether it is KCl, KBr or KI, in three different ways you can get to know that what is being given to you. One is from the precipitate, second one is from the reading, and third one is from the final answer. Okay, so all of these things you need to remember for your exams. Okay, so that's it for this video lecture. Thank you.